Wow, I almost bounced out of the seat. It's very cushy. You join me inside the cabin of the 2020 Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. Not to be confused with the off-road oriented Trailhawk. This is the supercharged 6.2 liter HEMI V8 powered sleeper SUV. I say that because it largely looks like your standard Jeep Grand Cherokee, but I want to learn more about it, and I hope you do too. Fortunately, we have that opportunity in these reviews. So let's find out what makes the Trackhawk squawk. Trackhawk squawk. Today. And there's your Trackhawk. 2020 model year, and if you're wondering what has changed since the Trackhawk went on sale for the 2018 model year, not much. There's an available duotone black and gray leather interior, a standard single pane moonroof. I think the Trackhawk badge on the tailgate's been updated, and you've got some new 20-inch alloy wheels. But that's effectively it. The rest of it, the look, the powertrain, the braking hardware, all of that good stuff, that's still the same. And you don't really have to mess with it much. Not when you are the most powerful SUV you can buy. Just bonkers. Now, to get this out of the way, I do have a walk around and a POV drive for this vehicle up on the channel. POV day drive and POV night drive. So if you want to see more, learn more without me talking at you, go check out those videos. I will link them in this video at some point. Maybe I'm linking one of them now. Maybe I linked it already. The mystery. But let's talk design. And we'll start by mentioning that this test vehicle is in the velvet red clear coat paint. Think of it as a burgundy metallic. I'm not reviewing that skateboarder there, just the car. And you can see the metal flake in the sun here. I'm not typically a burgundy fan, but it does help this vehicle stand out a little bit more than perhaps a flat gray or black. Then again, if you're going for the sleeper look, which that's what this is, it's a sleeper SUV, you may want to embrace it fully and just go kind of a darker hue. But up here at the front, we can really see the width of the vehicle. I'll go down low. Has a little more presence than your standard Grand Cherokee, but could be confused at a quick glance. We have that classic Jeep 7-slot grille. And this one's finished in a sort of metallic, matte. There's so much going on here. It's like gunmetal, but it's also could be seen as bronze in some light. Either way, it's cool. It draws the eye, certainly more so than just the black venting behind that. Jeep logo in piano black. Real venting down here for the radiator. You've got a big engine to cool. You need a lot of ventilation, and so we've got more ventilation down here. And then that camera goes with your active safety features. It does kind of stick out though. It's like that's a lot of real estate dedicated to a camera. Hopefully as technology improves, that can get smaller and smaller. And then down here, we've got some integrated lower lip spoiler, and then this one is distinct from the rest of the bodywork down here. Man, again, we got the bugs. We got the bugs. I did some cleaning, but I didn't get all of it. More ventilation over here. I like it. Breaks up the bodywork nicely. Then you've got standard LED daytime running lights surrounding high intensity discharge HID headlights. This is a washer panel, so this pops out and washes your headlights for you. And then up here, this is the real distinguishing trait from the standard Grand Cherokee. Both the SRT and this Trackhawk have these big heat extractors pulling some hot air out of that engine bay, and the deep inlets into the hood. Looks really good. Reminds me very much of the Charger and Challenger. No coincidence there. Yeah, good looking front end. Then we come to the side here and we see the flared wheel arches. Not overly so, certainly not like the wide body versions of the Charger and Challenger, but it does look a little tacked on, kind of like those vehicles. Helps the stance though, and covers these 295 section Pirelli P0 tires. Those are at all four corners, and they wrap these 20-inch aluminum titanium wheels, 2 piston rotors slotted for ventilation, and then 6 piston front Brembo brakes. And the yellow painted calipers are your dead giveaway that this is the Trackhawk. There are a few cues, that's one of them. A few clues, that's one of them. And I like that there's some sidewall. I like that these tires have some sidewall. They're not 23, 24-inch wheels with skinny little sidewall, which, because this doesn't have an air suspension or something like that, would really punish ride quality. No, this has some sidewall, and so therefore some cushion between the road and your bottom. Moving along, now we see Grand Cherokee Supercharged badging. Supercharged, yet another giveaway that this is not your average Grand Cherokee. Black borders for the windows, black roof rails, and this one has the optional panoramic glass sunroof. Let's look at the profile. Macho, slightly lowered compared to a standard Grand Cherokee. Hugs the road. And then we've got 4-piston Brembo rear brakes, again in yellow. You can see the gunmetal wheels surrounding them. Get to the back. LED taillights. Oh, and Trackhawk badge. Can't forget that. Really good looking, high quality looking badge. And then a roof mounted spoiler. Doesn't jut out too terribly far. Some of these super SUVs, you just see them come out so far. It's over accentuated. This one nicely integrated and painted black to go with the windows. And now down below, we see a large black painted diffuser, integrated nicely, has some detailing. Doesn't just look like a piece of black material just tacked onto the back. This has been crafted a little bit. And then you have your quad exhausts, and they're kind of stepped. So this one's in a little more than this one. You can see from the side. And they are big outlets. It appears that 2 branch off from 1. So you have really 2 exhaust outlets, and these just finishers make for the 4. Good looking SUV, wouldn't get it in this burgundy metallic, velvet red, whatever you want to call it, paint job, but it's a good looking, macho looking SUV. Now let's go to the interior. All right, inside the action of the Trackhawk. This one has a monotone black interior, but you can get, for 2020, the duotone gray inserts with the black borders for the seats. Let's talk standard equipment for your $87,000, and then the options that this one has that bring it up to over $100,000, $101,300 or so. Can't remember the exact spec on that. But standard, you are going to have your leather seats with heating and ventilation and power adjustments for both the driver and passenger. This carbon fiber style trim is standard. It's definitely not real carbon fiber. It's got like metal pieces in it that sparkle in the sun, which is just odd. I don't think a vehicle like this should sparkle, ever. But that is standard. The leather wrapping for basically the armrest up is standard. Trackhawk badge on your heated steering wheel is standard. And then this silver finish for the center stack area is standard as well. Options. This panoramic sunroof, that's like $2,000. It's a good sized panoramic sunroof, and it's very much appreciated in a darker cabin like this. I forgot to mention this Trackhawk imprint in the seat back, that is also standard. The Laguna leather on this particular cabin, that's optional. It's part of a just under $5,000 package that brings leather to a lot of places, and really good quality leather at that. Very soft. You have your leather not just up to the center armrest, and you can actually see the defined line where this would normally be plastic. It is now leather, and stitched leather, and good soft feeling leather, all the way down through here on this piece and below here. And then here where this would typically be plastic, this is also leather wrapped as well, even down here. So I mean, they really went extensive with the leather, and it does bring up the feel of the cabin, and the stitching is nice as well. This center armrest would be standard leather. There's leather even for the glove box cover. And then this microfiber suede headliner, that was also a standard function. Standard feature, rather. The Harman Kardon sound system you will have to pay extra for. It is a good sound system. I am not an audiophile, so I will not go any further than to say it is a good sound system. Don't pretend to rate them. The heated rear seats are standard as well. And I'm going to climb back here and show you what the space looks like. So that's my driving position at 6 feet tall. Here's what I got in terms of legroom. There are nice foot pockets, so I can squeeze my feet under there and stretch out my legs a little bit. So you can see I have a good amount of knee room. These seat backs are plastic, and a really scratchy plastic at that. I don't love that. And the netting back here just looks pretty cheap. You do have air vents, very important, along with your heated buttons down here, your 2-stage heated seats, and a 3-prong plug, and dual USB ports above that. Because this middle seat, it will work. Ooh, it's really soft. Actually, maybe you want to take the middle seat. Super soft. And not a huge transmission hump, so your feet will fit easily on either side of it. So okay, you could fit 5 adults in here without too many problems. And these seat backs do recline, although it is like the most high intensity spring system. Like, look at that. They can fold flat. They're not folding flat. Go forward and flat. There we go. They can fold flat and then take a couple different positions, but it's like you got to use all of your body weight to push it back up. But so if you lift this, how am I going to do this? I'm going to put the camera down for a sec. That is a labor right there. Okay, so you got to push real hard as you pull that up, and then your seat backs recline. But as you can see, there's a fair amount of recline there. You can really stretch out, relax in the second row. Man, I am reclined. Nice view of the panoramic sunroof from back here. And then you've got your center armrest with double cup holders. So appropriately comfortable and luxurious, but not in any way extravagant. And the extended leather package comes even back to these rear seats. So below this center armrest, you have leather down here with the stitching. Your drink pockets are not that large. That's okay. Whoa, hold your horses. I almost forgot the large water bottle test. I was staring right at this thing the whole time. Nalgene-sized water bottle. Will it fit in the cup holders? That's a no. That's a definite no. Will it fit in the center console? Yes. Probably fit 2 of these things in there. That's good. very important. There are also two levels to the center console. There's the big one pocket, and then you've got your small items pocket there. Will it fit in the door pocket? I'm not thinking it, no. Not even if you try to shove it in there. Nope. I'm gonna put this back just because I will show the cargo space. Oh my gosh. It basically punched me. The seat just punched me. All right, let's go to the back. Press the button here and the tailgate opens. Eventually. It's kind of slow. It's kind of a slow tailgate. Fairly high liftover to the load floor. That all made sense in my brain, didn't come out of my mouth. Got a metal finish to this, although that's definitely plastic and that's gonna scratch. You have a full-size spare, love that. And some pockets on the surrounding pieces for you to stash goodies. And there is 36 cubic feet of space behind that second row. And if you fold down those seats, which you cannot do from back here, I hate it when that's the case. I really wish there was a way to fold these seats from back here, but instead you have to go around, and as I showed you, pull the tabs. Do that, this is the last time, I swear. Okay, so you fold those flat, and then you have 68 cubic feet of space. Pretty generous cargo volume back here. Should not have any problems moving some furniture. And then this you can remove completely by pulling this up and in. But I wouldn't recommend it unless you absolutely needed to, because storing that's just going to be a pain. But then you do have your protective cover. Up they go. These red seat belts, don't think I mentioned though. These are $95 extra, and I think they're worth every penny because they add some life to the cabin. Who doesn't like life? Life's good. Okay, now to close the tailgate. You don't have a button up here. You're gonna have to press this one here, but thankfully, because it closes so slowly, you will not hit your head. And also, I'm standing all the way up at 6 feet, and my head just barely clears it. So you're not gonna be bopping your head on it. I've done that way too many times. So you press the button, and the tailgate closes. Again, very slowly. And it beeps at you, so you know it's gonna close. Now, one thing I was looking for but did not find was a button to open or close the tailgate from here in the cabin. I'm not seeing one. There's a gas cover opener, capless refueling, that's good. But I did not see a button to open or close the tailgate from inside the car. So you're gonna have to either use your key or you're gonna have to go around and pull the lever right there. It does not have any kick sensors. I don't think you'd want that on this. You'd definitely be kicking the exhaust ports. But no kick sensors there. So you're gonna have to use your key or pull the lever. Now let's hop in and see what we got going on. Let's just start her up. Hit the red start stop button. Supercharged appears on the digital instrument cluster. And that is all digital, and then to the right is analog. So you've got analog oil temperature and analog fuel gauge. And then off to the left, analog speedo, going all the way up to 200 miles an hour, even though that's optimistic. Top speed is really 180. I think I've seen 190 also posted, but 180 is what Jeep claims. I get this so confused with the Charger and Challenger. For good reason. A lot of shared parts, including that engine. So this digital instrument cluster can be changed. You can change the information. You can have your digital speed. You can have a speed warning, diagnostic information. Not sure what that is. Messages, your radio or media, trip information, fuel economy. As you can see, I'm doing really well with 5.7. I've been driving enthusiastically. Driver assistance aids. All of your Trackhawk stuff, like your 0 to 60, your reaction times, all of your fun performance data, you can find duplicated in here because there's performance pages in there that I will get to in just a moment. Coolant temperature. Off to the left-hand side, Fiat Chrysler shared parts. We saw it in the window switches, which are super cheap. Super cheap. On the bright side, because they are so cheap, they're also cheap to buy. So when they wear out or break or whatever have you down the road, you'll be able to just buy a new piece and just plug it on in there. So it is the both negative and positive of this vehicle is the cheapness. These switches, super cheap. And then we get to the paddles. And that's definitely going to get into this as we're talking driving impressions. But these paddles are not just small and cheap feeling, although I think it is real metal. Yeah, that's real metal. But look at that. They're half. So they stick up barely over the steering wheel, and then it's half the paddle. So you have to pull the paddle from this part of the steering wheel. Otherwise, you're going to be changing the infotainment because there's a few adjustments for the infotainment here off to the left. I think that's your radio station. I don't know. It adjusts something with these buttons and toggles. I would rather not adjust them there for the sake of, especially on this Trackhawk model, for the sake of having larger paddles. Just swap that out and put larger paddles there. That's a real bothersome thing to me. Some of your active safety controls are here, your cruise control. You do have adaptive cruise control standard and a lane departure warning plus, they call it, which does provide some assistance with the steering wheel to push you back in your lane when you leave it. Automatic emergency braking is standard as well. No head-up display, but that's not a huge deal. These sun visors, wrapped in this Alcantara stuff, is nice, but oh, you hear that? That is some really bad plastic. Along with the rearview mirror, more cheap, bad plastic. And the sunglass holder, the cheapest of the plastic. This, with one finger, I could pull and break it. Hopefully you can just ignore that stuff because the rest of the cabin is pretty nice. But yeah, the use of bad plastics is so obvious. Then you have for your panoramic sunroof, you have your controls up here. You can just slide and close the top portion, or you can just vent for all your venting needs. Then the whole sunroof can come back. Press it once and it goes to there, press it twice and it comes back a little further. It's a pretty big opening, honestly. And then you have your wind baffle up there. Then it will close nicely. All right, now let's get into this infotainment. So you've got your 8.4-inch Uconnect infotainment. That is standard, and it comes standard with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Navigation is also standard. This nav is getting on in years. In fact, the whole Uconnect system is getting on in years, but it's been updated every few years or so, and so it's quick. It's pretty quick to respond. I like quickness in my infotainments, and it's fairly easy to use. You do have a Wi-Fi hotspot, also as standard. Driver's seat heating is up there. Performance pages you can get to from up here, your backup camera. No top view monitor, so you can't get that overhead view, which I really love in larger SUVs, so you're not going to be scraping your wheels, and you'll know the parameters of the vehicle coming into a space or something like that. So I'm missing that here. I wish that was available. All of your seat controls you can just access along with your heated steering wheel. Settings, you can adjust the display brightness, which I found I had to do at night because it was super bright in my eyes. But you can adjust just the infotainment from there, the brightness, and then the brightness for the gauge cluster, and then all of these lights here are adjusted via this control here. Controls climate, so you can just individually up and down toggle from there. You can direct where you want the air to go, up and down with your vents there, or you can use, thankfully, there are duplicate controls here. So you want a quick adjustment, don't have to be distracted while driving, you just crank that. That's how I would do it. I would not hunt in the infotainment for your controls. Big old volume knob with nice texture to it, like rubberized texture. Oh. Okay, so that's your Harman Kardon sound system. Again, I do not review sound systems, but you heard it. Your tuner, yes, you have a physical tuner, I appreciate that. You can just turn off the whole screen with the press of a button. I like that. You can focus on your driving. More climate control duplications down here, and then some of your active safety functions here. It does have parallel and perpendicular parking assistance. Let's get into the performance goodies. Oh, I forgot, I almost didn't show. It's very important stuff here. 2 USB ports and a 12 volt off to the right. Again, no USB-C. They're a little behind on that, but there are USB. Better than just having 12 volts. And let's take a look at the key while we're at it. Red key, yes, red key. 2 keys, black key, 500 horsepower, red key, all 707. What else do you, this is it's sort of a lightweight key, but the red just makes up for it. Okay, so you can open your trunk, as I mentioned, from here. You can remote start and stop the vehicle. Very cool. I just love that, especially with a big HEMI powered vehicle like this. Just remote starting it all the time, scaring the neighbors and all of their cats. So getting into the drive adjustments, you have your auto mode, which I basically just leave it in. It's your standard mode, and it'll know whether you want to go fast or slow, or shift slow, or shift fast, or can't speak anymore. Go to sport mode, and it'll adjust something on the digital instrument cluster that's going to quicken up your shifts and your throttle response, add some heft to the steering wheel. And then track mode turns off the traction control, or at least puts it in traction. Okay, yes, so it turns off traction control. I was right. So you've got adjustments for snow and tow. You can tow over 7,000 pounds with this vehicle. Great. And then hitting this will bring you to drive modes on the infotainment. And you can get into your performance pages. Not to gloss it over, there is a custom mode as well. This is basically your individual mode where you can adjust the throttle response independent from the steering and the shift timing and all that good stuff. So you can set it up in custom mode. And then of course there's a launch mode where you press the brake pedal with your left foot and then you just lift off the brake as you're mashing the throttle. And it will use that all-wheel drive traction to get you going quickly. And with performance pages, there's so much fun, nerdy, enthusiast stuff in here. You've got a shift light. You've got, this is where you can adjust your launch control. Where is it going to hold those engine RPMs? You can activate launch control from there or just hit the button down there. Your race options brings you this launch control, your shift light, your cool down. So you can just have the vehicle cool down appropriately and not just switch off the car and hurt the internals. Back to the drive modes, and then let's go into performance pages. Okay, now we've got it going, and it's got a horsepower meter, which gear you're in, the G-force you're pulling. You can add a different widget. Timers. What was the last 0 to 60 sprint that you had? I don't think I recorded anything good. Your braking distances. Gauges. Trans temp, all the important stuff if you're going to be drag racing this thing, which you really could do and it would whomp. G-force meter. Engine. Ooh, there you go. And dyno. You can see that there was a spike because I hit the throttle. Okay, I'm going to stop ranting. Let's go drive the thing, shall we? Actually, let's rev it a couple times. So to launch it, press the launch button, apply brake pressure, full throttle, release brake. Okay. But that's so dumb. That is so dumb. I want to do it again. I'm gonna go to this light. I'm gonna do it again. Okay. Doing it again. Doing it again. Here we go. Okay, brake. Launch. Full throttle. Okay. Gonna get arrested. Okay, that's dumb, and I love it. I love it so much. This is not an SUV. This is not an SUV. This can't be an SUV. It can't weigh 5,300 pounds. It can't do what it just did twice. I love it. I love it so much. I don't care that there's plastic all over the place. It doesn't matter to me. Not when it does things like that, and it does it as much as I want it to do that all the time. Do it all the time. Buy this car, do it all the time. Okay, well, so 707 horsepower. That's what that feels like. 645 pound-feet of torque, an 8-speed automatic transmission, all-wheel drive, 0 to 60, 3.5 seconds. Just felt it right there in my buttocks. That felt great. Wow. Sorry, just collecting myself. That was good. Yes, how does that happen? Well, there is a 6.2 liter supercharged HEMI V8 engine under the hood. It has a 2.4 liter supercharged put on that small block V8. And yeah, 707 horsepower. What a great engine. I'm gonna be so sad when it goes away. But actually, that brings me to a point. Because this car exists and people buy SUVs, maybe this is how the muscle car lives on, because we know the Charger and Challenger don't have long for this world, not in their current forms. They're going to become rivals for the 3 Series. That's what they're going to become. They're going to get more refined. That's the only way people are going to buy them in the future. But if the muscle car has to live on as this SUV, so be it, because that is stupid fun. Yes, I want to slide through a runaround, and it's not possible because it's full-on all-wheel drive, but I'll just have an old muscle car to do that stuff with, and I'll just go buy this new thing. Sir, do you understand how wonderful this vehicle is? He doesn't. Only I do, and only you will if you get a chance to drive this. But this is so good. But let's talk about the driving experience more than just the launches, which are so fun. As I mentioned, there are drive modes. I left it in auto mode, and that just means it's going to know, based on my throttle inputs and driving behavior, which is stupid all the time, that I want to go fast. And so it's going to give me the good throttle response. I could then just default put it into sport, and it's going to behave more responsively all the time, or just go on full track, and it's going to switch off the traction control, which it's an all-wheel drive vehicle. You got to be doing something pretty darn dumb to make it completely lose its marbles and go off track. Which hopefully you're using that on track. On the street, it just doesn't make any sense. You don't need to. Then there's a custom mode where you can individually calibrate things. I mentioned all of this in the interior walk around, but I'm talking about it again because actively you're gonna be able to just switch through those modes while you're driving. So if you're like, hey, I'm gonna get excited, let's go to sport mode. Okay. Let's just switch right into the driving noises that we're hearing. There are 2 levels of noise, and 2 types of noise, rather. If you tip in slightly to the throttle, you hear that supercharger whine. And that's a wonderful noise, and that is reason itself to get the Trackhawk over just this standard Grand Cherokee SRT, because that supercharger whine is irreplaceable. It's a wonderful noise, and I want to hear it all the time. And there's a way you can just massage that out all the time. It's by tipping into the throttle, not mashing it. If you mash it, the exhaust is going to bark at you, and you're going to hear it, which sounds wonderful. But if you want to just isolate that supercharger whine, just give it a little tip in. Just be gentle with it. And there's the supercharger whine all day. It's just like the Hellcats, that same noise. In fact, I mean, the engine is just like the Hellcats. It's a restricted exhaust system. That's the only reason you lose that 5 pound-feet of torque. You're not gonna notice. It's just so bonkers fast all the time. All the time. And then there's the driving experience. I have it in sport right now. The ride is not punishing in any way. Let's go over some of these bumpies. These seats, they're so comfortable. They're squishy, and they're like big couch chairs, just like you find in the Charger and Challenger. And they feel even more appropriate in a big SUV like this. they coddle you. It feels so nice. The tire sidewall that I mentioned in the exterior walk around, that is a big part of this. You're not riding on these thin little sidewalls, so it's not super punishing. And even though I don't have an air suspension system, it's just a supple ride. It's a little firm, and that you feel from the chassis rigidity. What they did to the suspension and chassis to kind of tighten it up, you can feel that it's taut, but that communicates that this is a performance SUV. So when you take corners, you feel the firmness. And the steering is very responsive. It is an electronic rack, and so, you know, you benefit of that, you do get some of the adaptive safety functions. You lose a little of the feel, but you feel something, you know what the car is doing, and certainly you know if the tires are going to be overwhelmed, which, again, it takes so much. Even though this is 5,300 pounds, as I mentioned, it takes so much to overwhelm this vehicle. Okay. It drives very, very, very well. I've driven the X5M, I've driven the Porsche Cayenne Turbo E Hybrid. I haven't driven the GLE, I've driven the GLC 63S, not the GLE 63S yet. But those are all the competitors. Now we can get into the competitive discussion. They're all more expensive. They're all more expensive. I was wrong when I quoted the starting price of 87 for this. This is actually 88 and some change to get yourself into a Trackhawk. But compared to 114.9 for the GLE, which makes 603 horsepower, so clearly less than this by a lot. Then there is the X5M Competition. That's going to be 115 grand, and that makes 617 horsepower. Still a lump sum less than this. So more money, less power. More refinement though, for both of those vehicles. You're going to get more refinement. It is going to feel like a luxury vehicle. This feels like it's been luxuried up, gussied up, but it's very much a mainstream SUV. It's using the FCA parts bin stuff, and that brings it down mentally. But, okay. But the leather package that does add to the price does bring up the luxury experience a bit. Not to BMW and Mercedes territory, but it brings it up a bit. Then, if you're gonna go full ridiculous, you've got the Porsche Cayenne Turbo E Hybrid S, whatever, it's a lot of words. 670 horsepower, so now we're getting real close. Only 37 horsepower off this, but it's a hybrid, and so that's a different driving experience, certainly than that. It's a different driving experience, but it's got its appeal, and it's a Porsche, so it's going to handle very, very well. It does. But it's also $161,000, almost double the starting price of this. And two of these, 1,414 horsepower. Come on, that's not how it works, but just, you know, you get the idea. It's not worth two of these, in my opinion. 0 to 60 for all of those vehicles I mentioned, it's right around the 3.7, 3.6 mark. This beats it, 3.5. No replacement for displacement is the moral of the story. If you are looking at a vehicle like this, if you're looking for super, super power in a traditional SUV, those are your competitors there, and it's a completely split equation. If you're going to say, I need a luxury, I need the prestige of a luxury SUV, and I want it to be fast, you're not going to look at the Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. You're just not going to do it. You're going to go straight to the Germans. Not that those vehicles aren't good. They're just, if you're looking at it from a financial standpoint, this all day. This is a wonderful SUV with clear blemishes. They don't even pretend to hide the blemishes. It doesn't look refined in the exterior. It looks like a Grand Cherokee with some awesome macho equipment on it. And that engine is the pièce de résistance. And if SUVs have to take over for muscle cars, at least we'll still get engines like this, performance like this. Please don't kill the HEMI. Dodge, I know you're going to eventually. Please don't kill it now. Not yet. Not yet. I hate to end a video at a stoplight. Hate to end a video at a stoplight. Gonna do it though. I got to. This is gonna be a long. That person's crossing, and they're pretty much crawling. So I'm gonna end it here. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.